Hi, my name is Moshe Devchanan, and today I wanted to share with you a meditation for the time spent with the candles, with the menorah lights. And so just a little bit about where this came from, I think might be helpful. So last year was the probably sixth or seventh consecutive year of where, as Hanukkah is approaching, I start feeling sad that it's almost going to end. And I always wish that Hanukkah can last longer. There is a similar feeling that I feel towards the end of Sukkot when I'm sitting in the sukkah, feeling that I wish it could last longer. And I get the same thing with Hanukkah. And so about 6 years ago, I noticed that when I sit with the candles, I started feeling emotional. And the tradition to sit with the candles um, comes from, at least for me, it came from the one of the Rebbeim, the Chabad Rebbeim, had suggested that, of course, there are so many intentions we can have as we light. There are so many different traditions, like the dreidel and having food with oil and latkes and the parties and all these different things. But there's uh, something deep that's some of us don't hear that much, and that is to just be with the candles and listen. I think it was the previous rabbi that said this. Listen to the candles and listen to the flames, because there's a message that they have for us. So that definitely was my experience. Just being with the candles, I notice I'm starting to get emotional and I'm listening out to what might be going on. And different things have come up for me. But last year, I think it was even before Hanukkah started, there was this certain possible meditation that came up for me. And I'm here to share it with you. And I hope it will enhance the meaning of what Hanukkah can offer you. Of course, this is just my personal process. I never saw it in any sefer, so I can't say that it's rooted in the purpose of what Hanukkah was created. But I did recently hear that if something just comes from your gut and it seemingly has no Jewish source to it, but it is something that when we entertain it and we practice it, or we use it, or we teach it, it creates a positive impact in our self-development, then it's a good thing. The fact that it improves our lives, that means that it has some sort of root in Torah, which maybe we don't have right now. We don't know where it is, but so with that in note, here it goes. The first night I looked at the flame, and what I saw was singularity. We know that in the structure of Kabbalah, um, there's Chachma, Bina, Das, and then Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes. So there's basically singularity, like Avraham was just single, just one, and then there was duality. There's Avram and Yitzchak, and then you have a third one which allows a commonality of both, something that allows for both Chesed, Gvura, and then Tiferes. So the same thing is when God created the world. At first, it was just Hashem Himself, and then the first thing He created was duality. The first thing He created was the possibility, this empty space. He first had to create otherness. And then the purpose of what he created the world is because he wanted that third thing, which was the singularity, the unity of himself and otherness. So with that in the background, the first night I'm looking at the flame and I just see one pure light by itself. When I thought of that, it led me down this whole meditation. And what I saw was, so here's a little bit of a background. I'm going to give you a 2-minute synopsis of my understanding of the process of trauma and healing. And it will sound something like this. Number one is we're just being in the world. Number two is we have an experience. That experience has us see ourselves in dualistically, or we have self-consciousness. There's me just being in the world, and then there's consciousness of self. So that's what I call duality. And then as a result of believing that, as a result of believing the duality, now we have to compensate it, and we have to create um, homeostasis, I guess you would call it, but we have to create, like, try to figure out how we're going to reconcile these two opposites. And what happens is, here's just an example. I'm just being in the world. I have this experience which has me believe that I'm alone in the world. And now I have to do something to compensate for that. And then once I compensate from that, sometimes I sacrifice things or I overstep boundaries, and then I experience another level of shame. And then I have to create coping mechanisms for that, and back and forth. So here is a short, quick version of that. So if you are somebody who had experienced trauma, which most of us, if not all of us, have definitely experienced a defining moment, a significant childhood experience that had shaped us and created a certain belief that we have about ourselves that then shaped our lives moving forward. So the first night, just be with the singularity, be with that little boy or that little girl that was born and was just being in the world. And all he or she had known was that she didn't even have a concept of self. It was just like, I'm just here. I'm just being here. And there's such purity in that and so much innocence. So the first night you sit there with that single candle and you just see that pure, innocent child and be with the innocence. And if it has experienced a second candle, if it has experienced duality, be with that boy or girl before that happened. Be with its purity. Be with all the pain that you know that's going to come. But right now it doesn't even know what's going to happen. It's just be with the innocence and be with that innocent that single pure child. On night two, try to reflect on what is my earliest memory of experiencing duality, which means something went wrong, and they had to make sense of it. Like there's something that was not okay, and you had to make sense of it, and it was painful. Most likely, it was painful. Um, So the one that I've written down for myself is I had the experience of feeling alone. Of course, I know I wasn't practically alone. Of course, I had Hashem with me. Of course, I grew up in a family with 11 children. I had six older siblings, and we had a very lively home. But I experienced the feeling of loneliness, and what that created was this idea that I am alone. And I believed for a moment that I was alone. And I don't know how long that lasted, but it was certainly significant enough where I'm able to see how today that has an instinctive effect on my life. So that's the second night. Flame number three is when we ask ourselves, okay, so flame number one, ask yourself, who was I before I had any identity, before I had any self-concept? Who was I? Flame number two, who was I, or who were you once you took on an identity? Flame number three is, who did I need to become in response to that identity? So if I had a traumatic experience, and then I thought that I am a certain person, which is not okay. Now I need to compensate for that, and I need to be overly something. I need to be something as a way of compensating on that. That's flame number three. Flame number four is, who do you need to be? Who did I need to be to become, or who did I need to become to survive that rigid critical self? So for example, for me, it was because I believed I was alone, I needed to behave silly. I needed to be funny overly, I need to act silly because if I act silly, then I'm not alone. I feel like I'm a part of everybody else. But then what can happen is that as a result of overstepping boundaries or as a result of doing things that could be self-humiliating, I end up starting to criticize myself. And that becomes flame number four, where now I start being more rigid and critical at myself. Oof, what did you do? What did I do? I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done, what's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? That's flame number four. Flame number five is as a result of the rigidity and the self-criticism, there's going to be a consistent there, at least for me, there was a consistent emotional pain. And it's not just the self-criticism, but it's a compilation. It is a um, it's compiled feeling alone, believing that I'm alone, needing to be silly, which could be in certain ways acting like not myself, being somebody else, just so that I don't have to feel alone. And then what that creates is self-criticism. So now I have three levels of sources of pain, really two, but feeling alone and then ashamed and then self-criticize. Now I need to do something to start soothing that pain. So for me personally, it graduated from different things like shoplifting, stealing, and then eventually into full-on addiction. But these were behaviors that soothed the pain. So this flame number five is, who did I need to become to soothe the self-criticism or the pain that I had? And that's flame number five. So what I do is, again, just like in the first night, it's be with that pure child. Then flame number two is be with the child who believed that he was alone. Flame number three is be with that innocent child who thought he had to be silly in order to not be alone. Flame number four is be with that kid that was being self-criticized. He was criticizing himself, either by himself or by others. Flame number five is be with the kid who had no idea what he was doing. He thought he was just having a couple of drinks, being a regular kid. He thought he was being innocent, but he was just doing what he needed to do in order to survive the pain. Be with that kid and all of his experience, all of his emotions. Flame number six is, who did I need to become to recover from that? So because being an addict had caused a lot of pain and suffering. So who did I need to become in order to recover from the um, the I would call it the side effects of my self-medicative behavior or substance? So somebody has an illness and they take medicine. That's good. That's the way the world runs, and that's a good thing. But when somebody takes the medication and it has negative side effects, so now there's something else that I have to do instead of to create the same solution that my drinking or drugging, my addiction had created, but this time from a healthy place. And that's flame number six. Who did I need to become to recover from that? And that is to become somebody who's sober. And I had to be somebody that was humble, and I had to be somebody that was willing to receive help and was willing to ask for help, and I was willing to take the actions. Flame number seven. So flame number six is just like being with that person and like really feeling proud of him. Well, yeah, just got a little emotional. Flame number seven is, who did I need to become to access the next level? So for me, it was, okay, yes, I got sober, but then when I get sober, once I overcome, once I recover, once I return back to myself, to who I am, which is recognizing that I'm not alone, I'm that single person, I am that pure identity, that awakens within me a leader. Which means in 12-step work, it's the 12th step. So once we have had a spiritual experience, we now carry the message to other people. So now we're not just people who are okay, we are people who are being called to contribute to others. And that's flame number seven. And flame number eight is, Who will I be today that will take me to the next level of redemption? What am I being called to? So it's almost like level flame number eight. I'm not even reflecting, I'm actually projecting. And I'm asking myself, who's the next version of me? And then be with that person. Be with that person. Maybe thank him or her, appreciate her, congratulate him or her, um, and just be with him. Be with that person. That's the meditation. Thank you very much for watching. If this was beneficial to you, of course, please share it with others. Wishing you a good, beautiful, uplifting, light-filled, and um, delicious food-filled festive Hanukkah. Much love. All the best.